But I think one of the reasons why these people have this deep-seated anger and resentment is there's a bunch of people out there that have these lives that are deeply unsatisfying, because I think somehow or another, through momentum and just through things falling into place the way they are and people trying to fit their lives around the way these pieces have fallen into place, there are so many people that are working all day long doing something that is deeply unsatisfying and almost painful to them.
Yeah, soul killing.
Soul killing. They're stuck in traffic all day, and then they're stuck in a cubicle after that. They relish the time to take a shit in the bathroom and look at their phone. I mean, they literally do that. That's a highlight of someone's day. They get in traffic on the way home. They get home after that, they're watching television, and they're fucked. They have deep debt. This is not like there's this soul-killing thing is not giving them any freedom.
The debt's huge, dude. And you know what? You just sit there and go, and you look at what people make, and you sit there and go, you can make quite a lot of money by average Joe standards and still not be in good shape.
No.
So I know people turn around, make good living, really good living, and turn around and go, I'm just holding my head above water.
Yeah.
Right? And so you go, okay, if you're holding your head just barely, what's a person making a third or a quarter of what you're making doing? I mean, this is really, when you talk about revolutions happening and things going down in weird, unpredictable, negative ways, and we've talked about this before, you let enough of your society fall into the loser class, for lack of a better word, winners and losers in society. Every society can suck up a certain amount of people not able to make it. But if that number gets large enough, revolutions happen.
I think so too, but I think that revolution doesn't necessarily have to be violent. I think the revolution can be a revolution of action and ideas, and I think that there's a ton of people out there that are probably listening to this that would like to be able to do something else.
Absolutely.
Whether it's make furniture.
Well, they don't want a revolution.
Right.
They want to do something that's not soul-killing.
Yeah, if you make furniture for a living, and you feel a great satisfaction out of that, and you sell that furniture. Look, man, making furniture feels good. If you can do that, you could cut those corners perfectly and sand everything down nice and stain it, and then it's done, and you get the satisfaction, and you sell it to someone, and that pays your bills. That is infinitely more satisfying than being stuck in some fucking cubicle working for someone that you don't want to work for, having to have these stupid fucking office meetings, talking to people in human resources, sitting down with your supervisor where they evaluate your job performance, and you're not really, you really need to be enthusiastic about this company. This company is your future. This kind of you're like, fuck, kill me now. There's a lot of people out there that would way rather do something else, and I hope they understand that they can.
Let's talk about that, because we're in that. We're in that subject because we've been talking about us and podcasting and new media and whatever. But really, and I rarely like to give advice, because you don't want to be responsible for people acting on it and having it not turn out well. But what I tell people is two things. Right now, the United States of America, the way it's built, is built to help industry and corporations and companies. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be Microsoft. It can be you, right?
Yeah, you can have your own thing.
Let's talk about the furniture builder. Once upon a time, there are huge things in your way, including needing to get loans and all these other things to just start a business. So you're behind the 8 ball right away, and the pressure's on, because if it doesn't work, you're in debt. Whereas, we started these podcasts, there's no brick or mortar. Now you've got just the Rogan tower. It's a little bit different. But once upon a time, it's like in the back of your bedroom, and you've got a company, and it's got a show, and people are listening. If you make your furniture, and you don't have to have a brick and mortar store, but you can put a website up, make it with Squarespace or one of those other things, and all of a sudden you have a business out of your house. The freedom, the satisfaction, the ability to set your own hours, and here's the best part, the fact that if you start making a lot of money somehow, you're not going to have your boss cut your commissions. I knew sales guys who made so much money that their bosses cut their commissions because you can't make more than your bosses. Well, listen, when you have your own small business, the sky is the limit. If you make $10 million, you make $10 million.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that if you can, and it's not always something they can do, maybe you do it on the side when you've got your regular job, starting a small business now, in this climate that we have right now, is not only possible, it's not that much of a gamble, because if worst comes to worst, you didn't invest $100,000 you didn't have starting it all the time, right?
Yeah.
That website didn't cost you that much. The investment for the tools you may have had already. Podcasting's a perfect example. We make business, like my buddy says, we sell zeros and ones.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Well, it's never been easier to have a website either.
No.
Easier with companies like Squarespace. You could develop a website. You could literally build an amazing website in a fucking
sell
hour.
your furniture,
and you
right?
have a free online store with it, and they have these these drag and drop user interfaces. You use photos, you drag them onto there, size it in place, boom. Next thing you know, you've got a website. Sell your furniture, sell whatever the fuck you make, whether you make clothes or you're designing backpacks, or there's a lot of people out there that have interests and they've never pursued those interests because they're fucking tired from doing boring, soul-sucking
It's
job.
hard to go to work and put your effort into that and then come home and then work for yourself. It's very hard. But I'll tell you what, there's a part, like you said, there's a part of it that once you start making stuff for yourself, that's self-motivating, right? I told somebody to start a podcast. I said the first time you get some feedback email, that will kick you in the rear end to keep doing it becomes life is a verb, I always say, and you have to actually act. But by acting, you change everything in your future. Another guy said to me, it's a great line. He said, with podcasts, it's not always how many people are listening. Sometimes it's who they are, right? So my grandmother's philosophy was always that you should keep walking and talking. But in her era, walking and talking meant going and shaking people's hands. And now you can network like through the internet, and you never are really shaking people's hands, but you may have a podcast with only 100 listeners. But if one of those listeners is some guy somewhere else who says, oh my God, this guy's furniture is great, or whatever, I'm gonna, maybe you can come and start giving a Pottery Barn, okay? I mean, things open up in ways that you can't predict because you started doing something.
And because you have legitimate passion for what you're doing, that resonates.
Doesn't
with people
feel
that
like
experience that. Yeah. If they I can't tell you how many artists that I've discovered online just through Instagram or through Twitter. Like
it's a creative revolution.
Yes, in an amazing way. And I hope, and I think there's way more creative people out there than we realize.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I think they would love to have some sort of an opportunity to do something like that. And especially like an artist. Someone who's an artist, man, there's never been a better time to be an artist because you could showcase your work. And look, if you send me something cool and, you send it to me on Twitter, and I'll fucking retweet it.
Totally.
I retweet things all the time. And all that takes is someone else has to see that and say, wow, that's amazing. And then it just propagates to all these different people's Instagram feeds and all these people's Twitter feeds. And next thing you know, you've got a business and you're up and running. And it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be quick.
But the job you're doing now ain't easier, quick. The soul-killing one ain't easier, quick either.
But people think like, oh, how long is that going to take? Oh, but when you start out doing a podcast, well, I only got 10 downloads. Well, that's how it works.
We all were there once.
Yeah, I was there once. Dude, when we first did it, when Brian and I were first doing this podcast and we were doing it on like Ustream, we would have 200 viewers. And I wasn't doing it for money. I was literally doing it because my wife had gotten pregnant. We had to move from Colorado back to LA, and I was bummed out. I was like, fuck, I thought I escaped. I thought I got out of LA. I was living in the mountains. I was like, this is what I want. I want to be in nature. I was like, I don't want to be back in this fucking hellhole. Like, all right, let's do something. And so we started doing podcasts just for a goof because I was doing stand-up. That was all well and good.
But look at how it tied into your stand-up so nicely.
Yeah,
you know?
But my point is, it didn't start out, I didn't start out thinking, this is going to replace my income. This is going to be, I just did it as a passion project. And I think if people have a regular day job, if you could just find some one thing that you do as a passion project and just keep building on it, just keep watering it, keep adding fertilizer, keep giving it attention, keep giving it focus, and you can escape. You can escape and you can be self-serving. You could be okay. You're going to be okay.